I agree with you big time and disagree with you big time.
What do you disagree with me on?
Why not do the common thing? Why'd you not ask, oh, where do you agree with me, Austin? Why is it straight to disagreement? Why not the
I'm
brotherhood here?
yeah,
Kumbaya,
I'm
man.
always interested where you're wrong.
Go
Da
on.
da 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 da.
Welcome everyone to the Ramble podcast. My name is Richard.
My name is Austin. I am a robot. How are you, Richard?
Well, today is episode 48, Robot,
Yes,
and
yes.
we're gonna see if robots like you can actually replace us.
That's the whole thing, because you have a cool segment. Actually, I'm part of the segment too, Hi. So we have a segment where one of us is going to read a story from ChatGPT, from an AI, and one of us is going to read a story from a human. And they're both 30-second stories, real quick. So it's just a test to see if you, the audience, can tell which one is real and which one's fake. And I want to see, so when we get to the stories later in the podcast, we'll have you guess before we reveal who wrote what. Guess and say, is that one's AI or that one's human? So that should be fun.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about all that. And of course, as always, with Patreon, if you're interested in joining, we have a monthly book club, monthly movie watch parties. But let's get on with this discussion with AI.
All right.
Let's do this thing.
Well, this whole idea was sparked by a story I read about Christopher Poloni and the publisher Tor.
Yes. And Christopher Poloni, the author of Aragon. So huge author, and Tor, obviously, huge publisher.
Yeah. So the controversy was Tor publishers actually used an AI-generated image for the cover art of his new book.
Yeah.
And people were very upset at this because it's taking away instead of using an actual artist in the field, a human, they're using AI. So, but Tor's response was they bought a stock image on a reputable site, and they didn't know that stock image was generated by AI. And so when they went to touch it up and use for their purposes, it found out. But the more complicated issue into it is, if you know anything about AI-generated art, there's typically some predictable failures.
Some imperfections. Like, you can kind of
Exactly.
notice it's not at perfection level.
So if you look at both images, the cover art of the book and then also the stock image,
I'll have that right on screen here.
Yeah.
Yep.
in the stock image, you can see that the left leg is actually just missing
Yeah, yeah.
completely. So in the actual book cover art, they fix that up. So those kind of imperfections are a telltale sign of it being AI.
Right, and a lot of the controversy was, hey, Tor, how did you not know this was AI generated? There's a literal leg missing. Like, this has the AI imperfections. How could you not tell?
Yeah.
And to Tor, it's a new technology. You could give the benefit of the doubt, maybe, that, hey, they didn't know.
Especially this being one of the, not, I mean, maybe it's not the first time, but it's the first time with such a big author.
Yeah.
And now going forward, I doubt that excuse can really go forward. I think everyone's kind of being made aware of AI art and AI in their industry.
Yeah, and I've heard there was another book that had a similar thing going on. It was more known. So I don't, this is definitely a new issue that's going on. And especially with Microsoft just today, which by the time this podcast releases, it might be a week ago. But Microsoft is continuing with their multi-billion-dollar deal with OpenAI. OpenAI is the company that has ChatGPT, which everyone knows GPT is what you can type into the engine, and then it can write essays for you, do anything. Hey, answer this. It's like an advanced Google.
Yeah.
To the extreme. And also they own DALL-E, which is one of those image generating
Mhm.
sites. So Microsoft, who owns Bing, is trying to compete with Google, and they think this ChatGPT and this kind of search engine is the future. So a lot of that news is going on. But do you want to get into these stories and see if our audience can tell which one's written by a human and which one's written by a robot?
Let's get right into the challenge.
Okay.
Now, after we finish, before we reveal the actual, like, what was written by human, what was written by AI, comment below either Richard's story or Austin's story.
Yeah.
And if which one you think was the human, which one was the AI.
Yes, yeah. Gasp! Don't cheat. Don't you
cheat.
dare cheat. You got to post it after we finish the stories. We won't reveal. We'll give you a chance to comment and then go from there.
So I'll go first.
Okay.
On the first story. Quick little 30-second story. All right. Combine the chopped onion with the breadcrumbs and set aside. Next, using a scalpel, open the patient's chest cavity and separate the lung into its sections. Gently pull out all of the lung. Cut the lungs into 1 to 2 inch pieces and place them in a plastic bag or Tupperware, along with the lungs, onion, garlic, and allspice. Put the plastic bag in a small bowl and add the breadcrumbs. Cover the bag with plastic wrap and refrigerate overnight. Next, in a large mixing bowl, mix together the olive oil, breadcrumbs, garlic, parsley, and allspice, and season with salt and pepper. Add the mixture to the bag with the lung pieces. Wrap tightly and refrigerate until the next day. This recipe can be doubled.
That was story 1.
Story
Very
1.
quick story. This one's just as quick as well. Okay? Ready for story 2, folks. I watched as my soon-to-be father-in-law held his daughter's hand as he walked down the aisle. Tears streamed down his face as the wedding march that played in the background reminded him that, in a few minutes, he would be watching me hold his daughter's hand and slipping on her ring. He walked up to the altar, and I took hold of her hand, grinning from ear to ear. It was the happiest day of my life. My bride's father got down on his knees and started begging, "Please, I did what you asked. Just please give me my daughter back." I glared at him. "Shut up and stop ruining the moment. If you sit back down and enjoy the ceremony, maybe I'll tell you where I've hidden the rest of her body." End of story. And maybe we should have mentioned these are horror stories. we should have mentioned beforehand. Yeah, they're not nice feel good stories. They're really not.
It's hard to make a nice feel-good story
In like 30
short.
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Horror stories are the best for short fiction.
Exactly. But we're gonna everyone, you get a chance right now. Was Richard's story the AI or human? Was Austin's story? I'm talking to the third person. Was my story? Was it AI or human? So we'll give you a chance. Pause the video now. Comment if you want to participate, but we're going to continue and reveal that now. Okay, reveal comment. So,
My story was actually the AI generated. And actually, even more so, this was made on an older version of the ChatGPT.
it was, and
Yeah, ChatGPT 2.
that's an impressive story, by the way. It's real.
yeah.
It's real quick, and the last line is killer.
Oh, yeah.
This
it makes the
recipe
story.
can be doubled.
Oh,
Is
yeah. It wasn't a horror story until then. It
Ooh.
was a creepy story, and then this recipe could be doubled.
Damn,
So
that had a
good.
killer last line. And I also want to give credit to I just lost where I was at, so keep going. I'll find it as you continue.
So actually, how it wrote the story was the human started the line. He
Yeah.
started the story with a line, and then asked the chatbot to actually continue it.
Okay,
So
you didn't do this. Some other
some other
person?
human. I
Okay,
did it for a different example, but I thought this one was best.
Got it.
So the human actually wrote, "Combine the chopped onion with the breadcrumbs and set aside. Next, using the scalpel, open the patient's chest cavity and that's where he cut off.
That's all the human did.
That's all the human did, and then the AI filled out the rest.
Wrote the rest. Okay, so it still needed a little nudge in the right direction.
Yeah.
Whereas the human story, I want to give credit to Recludus on
Mhm.
Reddit, Recludus. That's his story, or his or her story, and that's what we're reading off. So also a good story from the human, of course.
Yeah.
And we're comparing an AI story versus a Redditor. So it's not I imagine this person isn't a professional author. Still very good story for a nice quick story, but not comparing to like Tolkien, of course.
Or
so,
a Hemingway
Yeah,
short story.
of
yeah.
course. So I really do think based on that model, I think it'd be fair to say ChatGPT, it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive stuff.
I
Yeah.
personally think that currently, as ChatGPT is, with human help, with human prodding, it can basically get to maybe high school level. At the very least, it's definitely at like upper middle school, like 8th grade kind of thing, but I think it's about at freshman high school writing level.
I would say the level right above me. Whatever's above me is the writing level that this thing has, because that was a cool story to me.
It's pretty good.
And you can toy around with it and get some other stories out of it as well, and it's
Mhm.
real nice. So do you think then that model for a story versus this short story, you could have if you didn't look these up,
Yeah.
if we didn't know beforehand, do you think you could have been able to tell which one was which?
See, that's the thing. I think I can tell only because of technical quality. But if it was in a vacuum, I don't think I would be able to.
What do you mean by technical quality? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
on technical quality with the chat AI story.
Yeah.
I think it kind of rambles and it repeats itself
Okay.
a few too many times. And that is actually common with AI stories, is it does sometimes get repetitive. And with your story, it was a bit more detailed. It had some more
Maybe creativity, is that the right word?
no
Okay.
self-referential in its own story.
Got it.
It's a continuous story where ChatGPT can sometimes get off the plot.
Okay.
That's how AI sometimes can work. It's following a formula. But in a vacuum, if someone just showed me that story, I wouldn't question it being a human.
Yeah. Yeah. If we didn't preface this with, hey, one is AI and one's human, could you tell?
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
not.
I could see myself getting confused, mainly because the last line is so good.
Yeah.
Last line could be doubled. That's such a creative line to end it. It's a good one.
It is. And not to throw this big question at you, but
Mhm.
what do you think the pros and cons are of AI writing?
I mean,
I
it's
mean,
a big one.
that's a huge question. We can go on a tangent from there. But what if you had to say what are some actual pros to this and actual cons to this?
Well, the pros is it definitely helps with sparking ideas. So AI can definitely be an assistance tool as it is now. You
Right.
can input a lot of your ideas and ask it to organize for you, give you some ideas of starting out your story, but ultimately is not at the level of being publishable quality, typically. Now, there are exemptions to that. So Gizmodo actually did a article where they went through the long, tedious process of creating a Lovecraftian horror story, full length,
Through AI?
through AI entirely.
Oh.
Now, the caveat to that is it was a lot of human intervention. So they prompted it with things, hey, change this.
Okay.
Hey, make at line 3, change this out of it.
Yep.
So it required a lot of human editing.
Right.
But every line is written by AI.
It's just the human saying change this line to something with this.
Or change the
this.
ending to this.
Yeah.
Hey, change third paragraph, take it in this direction.
Okay.
Bunch of those edits. But then they also put it into DALL-E, the art AI, and gave it a page of the short story and say,
Yep.
make an image based on this page of the short story.
Ah.
And so it started creating sci-fi horror images,
Oh.
which
Okay.
I think are pretty darn impressive. And I could definitely see it being on the cover of some, 1984 or Brave New World type thing.
That good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Wow.
I would say probably like there was some era in like the 70s, the 70s sci-fi art. It definitely
Okay.
looks like it inspired from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's definitely impressive.
So the pros are that it can get you in the right direction. What would you say is a pro of that, of being able to write a story to that extent?
I guess it makes it more accessible to people who don't know what they're doing in the beginning,
Okay.
don't know how to organize it. But
Okay.
I will say I personally think there's far more negatives.
What are those negatives?
Well, as of now, it can't replace authors. Realistic, like it can do your high school essay, your 5-paragraph essay. It can't replace an author yet, but I think it will be.
You think authors are done for? You think authors are going to be replaced by AI?
Potentially.
Do you think
And-
it's an inevitability?
Well,
And did I say that right? Inevitability? Is that right?
inevitability.
Did I say that word correctly? Did I add an I? Am
I
I
think
AI?
so.
Am I? Do I need to
You
correct?
could say, do you think it's inevitable?
Inevitable. That's the right word.
Yeah, there
And
you go.
how crazy would this be? The end of the podcast, we just revealed
This entire thing
this-
was scripted.
this entire script
Mark
was from AI.
Mark
No one.
MKBHD already did that.
Oh,
We're not gonna
someone did that.
Yeah, he's a tech YouTuber. He did that
Oh,
already.
okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no.
See, I'm literally robotic. I'm just pitching off other people's ideas.
Yeah.
So, okay, what are these big cons? Why do you? Oh, sorry, not cons. Just why do you think it will replace authors?
Well, ultimately, after you start reading enough, you can actually start picking up on patterns that authors do. And you can see patterns in the storyline, patterns in, oh, this character arc is similar. I've seen, oh, this character is kind of like a combination of these two type of characters. There's similar archetypes. The hero's journey is a story structure. There's plenty of other different type of pattern story structures. And AI is great at analyzing patterns. Currently, this is in its bare infancy stage, and it doesn't even have total access to the internet and a bunch of different content. Just imagine the kinds of stories it can tell if it had access to the entire base of human authors. If it could analyze the patterns between those authors and then get human feedback of what patterns work, and which ones don't. If I can start recognizing patterns and start putting some things together like, oh, I've seen this trope before. Oh, I've seen this pattern play out before.
Okay.
What can a computer do?
You know, I agree with you big time and disagree with you big time.
What do you disagree with me on?
Why not? Why not do the common thing? Why'd you not ask? Oh, where do you agree with me, Austin? Why is it straight to disagreement? Why not the brotherhood here? You know,
Yeah,
kumbaya, man.
I'm always interested where you're wrong.
Okay, I'll say where I agree with you is that it will inevitably get better.
Yeah.
Inevitably, this is going to become better at storytelling and will vastly improve. The big disagreement, I do not think it will ever replace, and the keyword replace authors.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can even, let's say it can technically write better. Actually, let me stop that tangent for a second, because AI, this is my thought process, AI has already surpassed humanity in chess.
Yeah.
Already way beyond. Magnus Carlsen, the best chess player in the world, can never beat Stockfish, the AI, ever. And chess is obviously very different because there's an objective rules to the game. There are objective ways to win, and objectively, Stockfish is the best player, or the AI is the best player, because there's a correct move and there's a wrong move. With storytelling, there are correct formats and ways to write a story, 3-act structure. So there are ways to formulaically begin it, so you can objectively start to write a story better, right? Like The Room's objectively a bad movie.
Yeah.
And you can tell that versus something else. But then when you get to a certain threshold of story, it gets so subjective on what makes a story good or not to the individual. So I think in that futuristic scenario, you're going to have AI stories that are really good, but also human stories that are really good. And you're going to have some people whose favorite book could be an AI story, but you'll still have those people whose favorite book is a human story. I don't think they'll ever be replaced because it's just way too subjective to what do I like, what do I prefer. And that human being has experiences and thoughts, and even your ethics, your morals, what you think in the world matters to how you create a story, and it comes out a certain way. Where an AI is programmed to do a certain thing, and there's still human programming. But you get my point. It's just a subjective way of reading a story and digesting it is different than, hey, this Stockfish is always going to be better at chess because there is a correct move. Storytelling, there are correct formats, but when it gets to a certain level, it's just completely what's your preference.
Well, see, I actually use that kind of line of thinking that I disagree with you on, mainly because a human author does write a combination of their past experience, their life, and also what they've read before. Current authors pull from what they've read, and then what they think and how they've lived, and then they write down their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing particularly original that it came out of the ether. Original thought is taking two ideas and creating something new. That's effectively all that original thought is. AI can take two things and make something new. They can do that. And with AI having access to all stories, all different types of stories, all different ways of life, and you give it access to books on ethics and books on philosophy and how to live your life, and you give it access to all of this, why can't it write a book with certain human perspectives? Because it has the wealth of knowledge of previous human perspectives.
Yeah,
I don't see why it couldn't
right.
create it.
I'm not saying it can't. I think the AI will get to a level where it can write extremely well. Like, if we're talking even hundreds of years, thousands of years, who knows? This could happen in 5, 10, I don't know how long, right?
I think it'll be quicker than that.
Could happen much sooner. But the word replace is where I disagree with you. That's the big disagreement. So, yeah, AI is going to get way better, no doubt. And the stories right now are already pretty damn impressive, and it's going to continue to do so. But replacement won't happen in this field because there is too much subjectivity into it. There's still going to be human stories that a computer can, even if we get to mind reading levels, sometimes, like I'm sure Sanderson, as he's writing a new novel, doesn't even know where his own thoughts are going to lead him to a new thing and a new plot point. It's an infinite number of possibilities in a story. There is no end.
But here's the ultimate problem.
Yeah.
If AI gets so good that it's as good as human authors, you could produce stories at a rate that human authors can't even compete to. And with that fact, the whole market would be so flooded with dirt cheap stories because they are written by AI, and you can get exactly the type of story that you want because it's cute, it's dialed in right to your taste.
Like what are your tropes you like, all this. Yeah.
In that market, how does a real human succeed? It took the computer maybe they wrote a whole book. They wrote a Sanderson
Yeah.
page book, 400,000 words.
Seconds.
And it took the computer a day. Let's say it took him a day
Right.
to do it. Take Sanderson at least
right.
a year to write a book. How is a human ever going to compete in that market?
Here's what I'd say. I'm going to use chess as
And
an analogy.
How would they even make money
Right.
in
I'll,
that market?
I'll use chess as an analogy again. So with chess, Stockfish is better, but we still, and I'm going to add on to this, but yeah, Stockfish is better, but Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru and all these people, we still watch them, and we're watching their chess. We're not watching the perfect chess that's played by an AI, because there's a human element to it. So you follow the Sanderson in his personality, and he's writing another story. Versus an AI, there's a disconnect of, oh yeah, I could watch a perfect Stockfish game, but where's the human element in that? There is none. So it's you follow the person a lot of the time. And also, I'll add, let's say a chessboard. There are mechanically made chessboards that are perfect 90-degree angles and everything. But then you have your handcrafted pieces that take time and wood and took them hours of time. Because the thing that makes a story good or anything good is it's hard to do. Right, and you're saying if a story becomes super easy and AI is able to generate this, I think at the same time we will have technology that's able to detect AI at an almost equal level, just like hacking's becoming easier, and malware and so forth, also antiviruses. You're going to have both come back and forth, just like deepfakes will get more advanced, so will detection of deepfakes. This is my very optimistic, naive Austin talking, of course. This is me wanting to be a writer one day and try to cope with the fact that the AI is already better than me, Austin. But you get what I'm saying with, I think there will always be human element. At least I hope so. And I think we're coming at this from different lens because I still have hope in life. you gave that back up in 98.
I certainly believe that it's possible that we can be almost entirely replaced.
Oh God,
with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see with the whole idea of the human element is it is pattern recognition, and that's all it is. Now, I will say to your point, and actually, pro. I'm gonna give you a point.
This has never happened in Tutor Ramble, folks. This has never happened. Everyone, capture this moment.
You look at chess before AI, before computers played chess.
Yeah,
and we just had human chess people.
Oh, I see where
the average level of skill
for
chess has gone up dramatically.
Yes,
with AI.
Yeah,
and so now, yes, AI may be the best chess player, but every human alive today or that actively plays chess is a way better player than they were 50 years ago.
Definitely on average, yeah.
On average.
Yeah.
And because they benefit from AI basically being like a teacher.
Yeah, more knowledge. You have the breadth of information. You're exactly right on that.
So that is the potential help that AI could be.
Right.
It could be it could be more of an assistance to authors. That
right.
Now people are just much better at writing. That they can write something, give it to the AI, and the AI will be able to say, hey, you need to change this. Hey, this story right here, the character is not developed well enough. You need to add some more drama in the beginning. And the AI can recognize things and maybe improve. Who knows? Or it could just say, hey, you want a book that's like Sanderson, but it involves cats going through space? Here you go.
Here it is. It's written
There we go.
You. Yeah.
It's written for you. And it's the same quality as Brandon Sanderson. Who knows?
Right. So you think this is the future?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's certainly
and
possible.
You're going to stick with that. Authors, there is a future that's a likely future where authors are completely replaced.
Yeah.
Damn. Why are you looking at me like that? Ooh.
They're coming for you, man. They're coming for
They're
you.
coming for me. Yeah, I like to think that's not the case, but you bring up valid points where if it gets to that level, I still believe in it's just too subjective. And even
Oh,
if it's
no,
geared towards you, I
A
don't.
human
Yeah,
could.
Mm.
A human could still write, of course. It doesn't take away their ability. It just would become
it's too
really hard to market when it takes you a year to write a book and a computer a day. And the computer's quality is just about the same as yours.
And again, I think
How
it
are
goes
you
back to
gonna
that
do that?
difference of like a chessboard or a chess
Yeah.
player of are we just going to be, the new AI book comes out, is there going to be the same level of interest in that versus an author you follow and know they write it and it's a big event versus and it's coming from their brain. The AI will be able to create a ton of stories, but will they be able to take the essence of that human, your infinite possibilities? You don't even know what you're going to think next. So I think what it comes down to is an AI will never be able to write your story. And that's the difference. An AI can write a story and many stories, but not every story, not your story. And I think that's the hope we have left. And I think humans will support other humans, hopefully. And
I hope you're right.
yeah.
I very much hope you're correct.
Damn, this has been so grim. We talked about horror stories today. We talked about the end of humanity today. And with that being said, I think this has been a good Two to Ramble episode. Another existential
Alrighty.
crisis on our
Oh,
hands,
good.
right?
That's the goal of every episode.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I want to see if they got the comments right on whether they figured out which one was AI or not.
Let's see. I'll check the comments below.
Okay, we'll send the video. Goodbye.